The US West Coast is a crucial sanctuary for an array of marine life and hosts several large population centres dotted along its varied landscape, in which 38 million people call home. Any changes to this delicate ecological balance can have serious knock-on effects for not only the marine life but for the people living along the coast and beyond. A tip in the balance has already occurred, and it's to do with an unlikely animal, the sea otter.
Before the 1700s, the sea otter population once flourished, safely nestled across the west coast of North America from the icy islands of Alaska to the tropical shores of Baja California. Sea otters spend most of their time in shallow waters, typically secluded bays and coves, sensitive to being disturbed by others. Sea otters eat a lot, consuming up to 25% of their body weight every day, eating shellfish, shrimp and sea urchins. This pure ravenous nature of the otter, although never had a massive population, kept balance in the intertidal ecosystem. This has given the otter the title of being a keystone species, a species that has an effect on its environment disproportionate to its abundance. It's important to note that otters don't reproduce quickly and do it at their own pace. They usually have one pup a year, rarely giving birth to more. The pup, similar to human babies, are unable to survive for the first year of their lives without help from a parent due to the energy needed to raise a pup and being its floating home for the first year of its life. An otter that has more than one pup would abandon it. Therefore, their population grows slowly, and if the population drops, it's difficult for them to come back. To survive frigid environments, otters have incredibly thick, warm fur. They have the densest fur of any animal on Earth, with up to 1 million hairs per square inch. In comparison, the human head has 700 per square inch. Otters were hunted for these resources. They had unbelievable value for early humans and Native American tribes. The wonderfully warm fur, as well as the meat, made it a main part of the diet for the coastal Native Americans. Industrial levels of hunting took place in the late 18th century. One of the first documented major hunting programs was organised by the Spanish in Monterey, California. In desperate need of mercury to process gold and silver in their mines, they reached out to China, which had a plentiful supply and particularly interested in otter fur. Over a 4-year period, around 10,000 otters were killed in trade. In the beginning of the 1800s, the Americans, Russians and British had a desire for otter fur as well. The trade flourished throughout the 18 and 1900s, decimating the otter population globally. Often to highlight this is the sea otter fur sales in London that decreased significantly over time due to the limited supply. Early conservation protections for sea otters came too late. In 1911, the North Pacific Fur Seal Convention was signed, which introduced control and management over hunting of seals and otters. By this point, the sea otter population that numbered 150,000 in the 1700s had dwindled to a tiny fraction of an estimated 1,000. This major shift in ecology and a significant loss of a keystone species led to prey populations expanding massively, and none more so than the purple sea urchin. Sea urchins are spinal, globular marine invertebrates that live in the intertidal zone, the area where the ocean meets the land between high and low tides. Within a balanced system, they are not bad. They are an important part of the marine ecosystem in moderation. Their Atlantic cousins keep coral reef ecosystems healthy by eating harmful algae and seaweed. The Californian purple are a key part of the food web, with characteristic spines that have tiny mouths on the end that deliver a nasty, painful poison when stepped on. They have aggressive feeding behaviour, eating almost anything that floats by, from algae all the way up to mussels, and can reproduce rapidly. Females can produce up to 20 million eggs per year. Paired with the fact they can live up to 70 years, when not kept in check, they have the perfect recipe to breed and eat exponentially. The notable omission of the sea otter has played a significant role in the bloom of purple that has expanded at an extreme pace. The imbalance has caused wide-reaching consequences for the ecosystem that the sea urchins and many other important marine animals occupy, eating away and destroying habitats and replaced with a carpet of purple. The endless barrens of purple sea urchins is of course a recent occurrence. Before the purple was the green. Kelp forests occupied the vast majority of the US West Coast, brown algae underwater towers that reside in cool, shallow waters. They are known as the rainforests of the ocean, growing up to 100 feet, unique in the fact they're able to grow on rocky surfaces. Kelp forests are one of the most productive ecosystems in the world. They provide food and shelter for 700 species of fish, invertebrates, and marine mammal species, a place where fishes and animals live, breed, and nurse their young. Kelp forests absorb CO2 from the surrounding water and oxygenates it, decreases seaweed acidification that's harmful to marine life, reduces wave speed and size, and thus lowering the coastal erosion and impact of storm surges and coastal flooding. Kelp forests have been the sea urchin's main source of feasting, and since 2014 have ate through a staggering 95% of the kelp in Northern California, a coastline stretching over 350 kilometers or 217 miles. Other locations across the coast have also severely suffered, leaving it a wasteland replaced with purple barrens. This only highlights the importance of the sea otter. An unbalanced ecological scale has done serious harm to the west coast and coastal environment. The scales need tipping in the other direction, and it starts with the reintroduction of the sea otter. Sea otters were presumed to be extinct in California until in 1930 a small colony was found nestled in a remote part of the Big Sur coastline. This galvanised the public and government organisations to set up further otter protections and reintroduce efforts to grow the population, like the Marine Mammal Protection Act, which made it illegal to harass, hunt, capture, collect or kill a sea otter. These organisations had one simple main goal: grow the population, as well as create safe and healthy habitats that otters can live in. Thus, expand the limited population distribution of otter colonies so they are less affected by catastrophic oil spills and diseases that can ravage them. At the Monterey Aquarium, California, ill, injured or abandoned pups and adult otters are nursed back to health. When they're ready to make it on their own, they are reintroduced to the wild to join colonies and hopefully reproduce. The techniques learned there are reflected in other organisations trying to increase the otter population. The first otter released was in 1986, but due to a lack of inherent survival skills and being too friendly with other humans, had to be recaptured. Learnings from this introduced supervised swims, otter training camp to learn vital skills like hunting for food and learn about the environment they'll eventually be living in. Pico was the first successful rehabilitation in 1989. This opened the door to numerous successful reintroductions. A critical method of rehabilitation was discovered later in 2001 when researchers found a mother with a dead pup. The researchers collected the pup, but the mother followed their boat, vocalizing for the dead pup. The researchers tried to reunite them, but couldn't get close enough. This spawned an idea. Back at the aquarium, a young rescue pup called Elwood wasn't taking well to the efforts to take care of him, often not sleeping or eating and vocalizing for his mother. The idea was to introduce the two of them. A team went out with Elwood to search for the crying mother, and she had not moved. They carefully placed Elwood in the water. The mother came over and claimed him as her own. This was a miraculous and unexpected discovery and opened a new avenue to reintroduce pups back into the wild. In 2003, otter surrogacy had higher survival rates and better success against hand-reared methods. It then became the preferred way for rescue otters to be reintroduced into the wild. The Monterey Aquarium is one player on a team of organisations across the US and Canadian West Coast helping the sea otter population to hopefully flourish. Populations in Southeast Alaska, British Columbia and Washington are currently stable or increasing. A colony just over 1,000 resides in Washington. In Canada, otters have repopulated 20 to 35% of their historical range, growing and expanding, but still considered small. Still under threat from sea disasters like oil spills and close to oil tanker routes that disturb their habitats. Overall, the populations in the north are stable or increasing. Down in California, the team there have attempted to reduce this risk by adding multiple colonies in San Mateo, Santa Cruz, Monterey, San Luis, and Santa Barbara counties, and at Nicholas Island in Ventura County. The otter population numbers just under 3,000, increasing by 5 to 6% a year until 2016. The sea otter population in California has seen a slight decline, being at a height of 3,200 in 2016, and in 2019 the population is around 2,700.
The health of the kelp forest has been described in recent research as in a state of equilibrium. Patches remain, but they're no longer being devoured by the purple sea urchin. These studies have attributed the equilibrium to the sea otter rejuvenation, keeping the sea urchin advance at bay and protecting the kelp that remains. The nearshore food web is finding balance, and the habitat becoming healthier, all thanks to the sea otter and the agencies that helped along the way. From near extinction, the sea otter has turned the fate of a marine ecosystem and coastal communities that rely on it from devastating collapse. Sea otters are still considered vulnerable. Oil spills, disease, shark attacks still have huge effects on colonies, and they still rely on organisations to assist them. What you can do to help can be found in the description if you would like to know more. I'd like to thank you for watching this video. To support me creating more short documentaries, like this video and subscribe if you want more.